Some of you might be wondering why I took so long to make this response. That's mainly because I wanted a good but belated response. I didn't want to rush it, basically. I didn't want a terrible, crying, early apology, that becomes so infamous.
What's up, you guys? The date is June 27th, and Slazo just put out a video titled My Side, where he addresses the allegations that have been made by his ex in the previous weeks. In this video, Slazo refutes everything that his ex, Chey, has said about what he's done in the past, and he provides video evidence and pictures and everything to back up his claims. It's starting to look like the man himself might not be so guilty. And that's why I said in my previous video, you guys can't just be jumping on the bandwagon like this. Let the man defend himself before you try to crucify him. Alright, you guys, we'll be looking through what Chey said, and then I'll show you Slazo's response to these allegations. Michael on our first date touched me in a cinema, despite me never kissing someone before. I assumed this was normal, although I was uncomfortable by it, and let it happen.
Which is a pretty long way from how she portrays it in her version of the story. In fact, she was actually the one who brought up the entire idea of doing anything in the cinema. It was her idea, and I had no reason to believe she wasn't as in on this as I was.
Slazo then goes on to say that the statement that Chey made confused him very much. He said him and Chey met up at the movie theaters and it was extremely awkward. They're young, they don't really know what they're doing. He said he's only talked to her online previously, and this is the first time they're meeting in person, and he was uncomfortable himself. And you guys, this is where it gets crazy. So Slazo says that they had their first kiss, and then he goes on to say that the whole point of having fun in this movie theater wasn't even his idea. He says it was Chey's idea to mess around in this movie theater. And then he provides photo evidence to that fact.
It in her version of the story. In fact, she was actually the one who brought up the entire idea of doing anything in the cinema. It was her idea, and I had no reason to believe she wasn't as in on this as I was. So I'm not sure why she made it look like this.
So Chey also said that she had her first kiss with Slazo. Slazo goes on to say that he doesn't believe that's true at all. He says that she told him a story about how she and her girlfriend of the past had kissed in front of some religious guy preaching about gay marriage, and that's the story that she told him and one of his friends. So after this, Slazo talks about Chey saying how this was her first relationship and she didn't know how these type of things would go. So Slazo says that he believes Chey had actually been in 3 previous relationships before they even met, with 2 males and 1 female. And at the time of them being together, she had more relationship experience than he did.
On the same note, she also mentions later in the post that she's never been in a relationship before. This isn't the impression that I was under. I was under the impression, from these screenshots here, that she's had at least 2 boyfriends and 1 girlfriend before we ever met. So I'm not sure why she would say this, and she had more relationship experience than me when we began dating.
So you guys, it's really not looking good for Chey so far. I'm just a little confused personally. So if she was really lying about all of what was said here, why in the hell did she think she was gonna get away with it? Like, Slazo has tons of screenshots. Maybe she just assumed he didn't have the screenshots, I guess. Maybe she thought those were all gone from his side. But it's looking like she really fucked up. After this, Slazo talks about the park situation, where Chey accused him of forcing himself onto her in the park, touching her unwantedly, and refusing to stop while she was sitting there crying. Slazo says that if he did these things, he really would be a monster, but he's saying that he didn't do these things, and he's not like that. So apparently this whole park situation, yes, it did happen, but according to him, Chey spun it around a little bit. He says that this was a mutual agreement they had.
Her hands to touch me. She did that of her own volition, and she even mentions this in Discord messages from after we met up in person. So, yeah, I'm not sure why she would lie about that. And the way she talks about what happened at that park is very different from how she says it publicly. She is very much on board with it, with the messages from the time where it actually happened. And the way she talks about it then is very different from the way she talks about it in hindsight. I had absolutely no reason to suspect that she didn't want what was happening or that she wasn't on board with it. She even mentions doing other things, and I had no reason to not think that she wasn't as keen as I was.
So after this, Slazo mentions the DMs that Chey released, and he says that these were all just joking. You know, they're not very good jokes, but they're all just said in a joking manner, and they were taken out of context, completely out of context. And he doesn't understand why Chey did this. He says he regrets saying that. He's gonna regret it till the day he dies. Just not a good look. Says at the time in his friend group, social circle, age, like edgy humor like that is just funny. It was a cool thing to do, and these type of conversations that you have in like a private setting, and people, your friend group knows that you're just messing around.
And over the course of this relationship, there are plenty of things that I do regret. Um, there are plenty of things I wish I could take back, and if I could, I would in a heartbeat. I was emotionally unavailable. I didn't give you the support you needed. I was overly focused on certain physical things. I was a controlling asshole. I was a dick, and I'm sorry for that. I really am. It's probably my biggest regret in life, and if I could go back and change it, then I would.
So Slazo talks about their recent meetup to resolve things in 2018. He says he met up with her because he really felt bad about the whole situation, and he wanted to, bury the hatchet, make things straight between him and Chey. And Chey described this as being extremely uncomfortable and an awkward situation. And Slazo says himself that it was more of a Slazo said the vibes he was getting from the whole situation were normal, like it was just comfortable, it was okay. He felt like they were making progress and making up, and it totally wasn't the shade described it as uncomfortable and awkward, and that he was being controlling and all that stuff. Slazo then provides text from him and Chey, their conversation about how the day went. She said that it was well, the day went well. Maybe in the future they could get back together if things with their boyfriend don't work out. And Slazo says he never really pushed that himself.
While we're waiting near her bus stop and she's about to head home later. And I understand that this is very he said, she said. It's not very definitive, so I don't expect you to take many conclusions from this. I do have text from the time that proved the general tone. It felt very comfortable, and I felt that she was completely fine with me by this point. I felt that our past was behind us, and we were just putting the final nail in the coffin by meeting up. I really thought this was the case. I also do have some texts that refer to her saying that we could maybe get back together someday, where she says, "How are you? How are you feeling about it all?" And I said, "It's nice. It's like a weight's been lifted." "Yeah, it's great. How are you feeling about the stuff we talked about towards the end?" Here, she's referring to being friends in the future and maybe getting back together at some point. That's what this is referring to. Oh, like the future and stuff? Yeah. I feel the same as you, really. Would be really nice to be friends again for now. Obviously, it's nothing definitive, it's nothing concrete, but there's that, so take whatever conclusion you will from that. And like I said, at this point, I thought the final nail was in the coffin. I thought it was over and done with, I thought it was behind us, and since November, December last year, which is when we met up, we've been talking, just, we've only had friendly chats, just asking how each other are doing, and that was that. I thought it was done. And now Chey's main reasoning for making all this public was that she's concerned that I'll do the same thing to other girls, and that she's heard concerning things about me with other people. I still don't know what she's talking about here, or what kind of things she's heard that I've been doing that make her feel like I'll do the same thing again. I really truly have moved on from then. I'm a completely different person regarding that aspect of my life, and I don't know what she could possibly mean here. Why would she lie? Why would she say that she'd never been in a relationship before, never kissed before, intended to wait until 16, and twist the truth of what happened in person and make out like she never wanted to do anything and this wasn't a two-way thing, especially at the beginning. It paints a very black and white picture of me being the predator and her being the prey.
Alright, you guys, thanks for watching. That was just my little breakdown of this whole situation, Slazo's new video. You guys, drop some comments down below. I want to know what you guys think. Do you believe what Slazo's saying? He's provided some pretty strong evidence that Chey kind of twisted this all around in her favor to really make them look bad. And these type of allegations can destroy somebody's whole career, ruin their life. And even if it's proven that they're lies, this type of thing will just follow you around for the rest of your life regardless. I've seen it countless times. So yeah, this is not okay. If you've unsubscribed from Slazo, will you be resubscribing to him? Were you unsure from the start? Why were you unsure? You know, I was kind of unsure because Slazo took so long to put out this response video. I was waiting on it before I was going to make any judgments. You know, I'd have to say after all this, I'm leaning towards Slazo's side for sure. All the evidence he provided, text messages, screenshots, everything. So it's kind of crazy that it looks like Chey really made all of this shit up. Anyways, you guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like for me. And you have a nice day.